What's good, everybody? Once again, welcome back to yet another episode of Let's Get It. As always, I'm your host, Emory Ogletree II, the main attraction. Back in the building, as you can see, I'm flying solo today, but it's all good. We still got some stuff to get over today. Let's real quick recap about what happened in the NFL playoffs over the weekend, man. I went 1-3, so I apologize. If anybody made any bets on my behalf, I apologize in advance. I'm not covering your spread. That's on you because you didn't have to listen to me. But, man, I went 1-3. I got to do better this weekend. But said the only thing I got right was Dallas beating the Seahawks. So, sorry. I don't know what else to say. But I want to go ahead and jump onto this whole thing about the national championship last night for the college playoffs, man. If you didn't see it, honestly, you didn't miss much. You were probably better off just watching the highlights on ESPN or all the other sports channels that's on TV today. Clemson just handed Alabama a straight-up ass-kicking. I mean, the first 20-plus defeat for Nick Saban in his era as Alabama head coach, which was very impressive on the part of Clemson and their coach Dabo Swinney. Final score being 44-16. Clemson becoming the first team since 1897 Penn to go 15-0. That's pretty impressive. You know, with all these debates going on and all these, opinions flying around on who's the greatest team ever, you have to respect what Dabo Swinney said. Nobody was talking about them. We were sitting there discussing certain other venues, talking about, is this Alabama team the greatest team of all time? Is Tua the greatest quarterback of all time? And in the end, Clemson shut it all down. And you can't blame them for feeling themselves this morning because they're in the national championships, and they left no doubt handing the beat down to Alabama that they did. Clemson becomes the first undefeated national champion in the 5 seasons of the college playoffs. And Dabo Swinney is now 2-2 against Nick Saban, man. That's really saying something because Alabama has basically been holding it down since the start of the college playoff themselves until last night. Nick Saban has been ruling college football with an iron fist, but Dabo's sitting there telling him to loosen up that grip. Dabo's 2-2 now. So are we looking at the end of a Alabama dynasty and hopefully leading into Clemson becoming the new face of a dynasty? A little too soon to tell for my part, but as of right now, and I told a friend last night, that right now, Dabo Swinney is the best college coach in the nation, bar none. I mean, what he showed last night, it wasn't even about necessarily just one side of the ball on both sides. Clemson was just absolutely too much for Alabama. They had no answers. On offense, they couldn't stop them. Lawrence threw for 347 yards, 3 touchdowns. His receiver, Justin Ross, a freshman, 6 receptions, 153 yards, and 1 touchdown. And that kid made a lot of clutch catches last night. I mean, he was actually a lot of fun to watch. I'm going to keep my eye out for that kid. I'm sure he just probably put himself high up on Mel Kiper's draft board for down the road because he still has a couple more years to go before he can come out. And as I was saying before, Clemson dominated this game pretty much after the first quarter. First quarter is 14-13, and I was texting with a couple of guys last night, and one of the guys said, we're looking at Patriots-Chiefs again, if you remember that classic on Monday night that we had not too long ago. And 14-13, you almost thought so. It was going to be a shootout. But Clemson sat there and dominated that entire second half, only allowing Alabama to score 3 more points. Like I said, this is the first time we've seen a Nick Saban coached team at Alabama lose by 20-plus points, and it was not even up for discussion. Like I said, I tip my hat to Dabo Swinney. I tip my hat to their staff. They were just clearly the better team. And sticking to Trevor Lawrence with this kid, when they interviewed him and everything else, I have to admit, and let me apologize first and foremost, because I sent a text out to a friend the other day that I picked Alabama to win. So, yeah, right, like all my guesses have really been off lately, right? That's why I play basketball. But I told him, I was like, Clemson, I don't expect Clemson to win. But, however, I felt that Clemson had to have like a Deshaun Watson, type quarterback to even have a chance to win this game. And I'll be honest, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to Trevor Lawrence going up into this game. I mean, outside of the controversy, with Brian ended up transferring earlier in the season, I heard a lot of hype about him, but never really paid much attention to him. Again, they played in the ACC, and the ACC is not really known for football. So although I have a lot of respect for Dabo Swinney, and I know he can coach, he's won a national championship, he had Deshaun Watson, an all-time great college football player who's still making his mark in the NFL. But I didn't really know much about this Trevor Lawrence kid. And, he showed me a lot last night. Like I said, again, he had 347 yards, 3 TDs, and the kid didn't back down. He just kept playing. I admire that. As you all know about me, I love competitors. I love watching guys who just love to compete. And even though the Clemson was up as much as they were last night, This kid was still going like as if the game was close. And I sat there, I had to give him his props. And when Maria Taylor interviewed him after the game, and she asked him, how many more championships are you expecting? I mean, what's the kid supposed to say? Hey, respect. He sat out there and said, and hopefully 3 more. I like that. Because, you can tell that this kid had his focus. Now, I'm assuming, does that mean that he'll stay for all 4 years? I don't know. But, right now, Clemson is the best in the nation. Everybody's talking about that senior class. What a great way to go out. Their legacy is cemented in the history of Clemson, cemented in the history of college football. But now is it time to move on. And Trevor Lawrence, Justin Ross, and the rest of the crew, along with Dabo Swinney, of course, where do we go from here? I'm pretty much expecting as we go into the next season, and they've already brought out the top 25s for next year already, even though it's early. We might as well expect to see Alabama and Clemson. I think, barring, God forbid, any unforeseen injuries, I'm already preparing myself for Clemson, Alabama 5. And with the way things are looking right now, we might be preparing for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You might as well sit back and relax. And I think about how people complained when LeBron was back in the East Coast with Cleveland. They were saying we're getting tired of seeing LeBron go to the finals. And my thing is this: you can't fault anyone for being dominant and for being good. There's nothing wrong for me, even being a former athlete, seeing a team or individual, whatever you want to call it, who's always that constant presence. This isn't an accreditation to their greatness. There's 2 other spots in the college football playoff. It's not Alabama or Clemson's fault that these other schools just aren't up on their par. What are they supposed to do? It's not their problem. So if I'm sitting back expecting to see possibly, like I said again, Clemson and Alabama at least maybe for the next 3 to 5 years, so we might as well all sit back. And at the same time, it throws out a challenge to the rest of these schools. You have to keep in mind that when it comes to college athletics, especially for these kids, whether they're 5-star athletes, 4-star athletes, or what have you, or even the ones like myself when I was coming out, I was pretty much an unknown. But for those who are coming out, highly recruited, of course they want to go to the best schools that they feel will suit them, especially for those who are looking to go to the next level. I don't fault that. As I said before, I was telling VJ off camera, I don't have a problem with some of these kids who aren't playing for the national championship or even in the college playoff, who decide that, since they're going to a, what I call an irrelevant bowl, but they're having thoughts of the NFL, they sit out the game. I have no problem with that. It's a business, as is all professional sports leagues. And these kids are taking it upon themselves that that's what they treat it as. Because guess what? When they get to the league, when they get drafted, that's exactly how they'll be treated. And although VJ and I disagree on this particular topic, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk more about it on camera at a future episode, I have no problem with these kids doing those things. And to go back to my original point, these kids are going to schools where they feel they're going to get the best exposure to possibly go off to the next level. So Alabama and Clemson are the top 2. So to sit up here and say they're getting like the best of the best players, again, why is that anybody else's fault? Why is that Swinney's fault? Why is that Saban's fault? It's not. It's just the name of the game. Well, I said, which just lays out the challenge for all these other schools and also to the players that, okay, you want to make your name, you want to make an impact. These are the schools you have to beat. What I said? Up until last night, or I shouldn't say up until last night, but even before Clemson won their first title with Watson, Swinney and his team basically had a goal in winning the national championship. And seeing that Alabama was sitting on top of the throne, how was you supposed to get there? I'll use a personal example for myself. When I was recruited to my school, the University of Charleston, West Virginia, as a freshman, when I first got there, my coach and my teammates, the upperclassmen that were there with me, had a big focus on, we want to win a national championship, we want to win our league. That was one of the biggest things that they just continually emphasized from the day I walked in the door. But it started off with just winning the league. And at that time, there was a team called Salem who just basically ran the league. And we knew that. Other teams in our conference knew that. And the only other thing about it was, in order to earn our respect, to take our piece of the pie, you got to go after them. And you have to take what you have, and it takes great leadership, and also takes a great commitment from the players to be brought together and to go after that. Clemson's done that. We're no longer just talking about Alabama. It is now Clemson, Alabama, and then everybody else. So, as I said, I really enjoyed that game last night. Well, I didn't enjoy it because I picked Alabama to win, but from a respect point of view, I enjoyed it because Dabo Swinney, as I said again, he is the best college coach in the nation as of today. You know, no disrespect to Nick Saban. I don't think necessarily that this loss tarnishes his legacy in any way. But at the same time, though, it just elevates Dabo Swinney as establishing himself as a great coach. Possibly, even though it's 2 titles in, College Hall of Fame coach. I mean, only time will tell, which I respect about Dabo Swinney talking about, because he even said, let's slow down with the dynasty talk. I mean, it's impressive. Like I said, Dabo's 2-2 against Saban. They won the 2 of the last 5 national championships, which is saying something. But like I said, we have a lot more to see going down the road. So only time will tell. But congratulations to the Clemson Tigers. I look forward to seeing what happens in the future. Looking forward to see how Nick Saban and Alabama Crimson Tide roll back from this. You know, how they're going to bounce back in the next year. Because, I mean, I'm sure the mindset of Alabama is either national championship or nothing at all. And after the ass whooping they took yesterday, I'm sure they're going to come back with a vengeance. So that's it for part 1, y'all. Like I said, stick around. I'll be back for part 2. So we're going to talk about an article that my man Rob Parker, shout out to Rob, wrote, talking about fans booing. And I want to touch more onto that. But so I'll be back. Part 1 over. Get ready for part 2. I'm out.